Okay, it's the end of the session. I'm here with my two wiener dog friends. This is Fitz, and this is Dobi, and this is the roadmap to success. Now, the video above goes over a greeting, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first, one of the guardians, we were kind of wrapping up the session, said, oh, the thing you could really help us out with is potty training, because somebody has a lot of accidents in the house. Now, there's a difference between marking, and you can grab a seat there. You won't be in the video. This is going to be about 20 minutes. So the marking is intentional. Accidents, by definition, is not intentional. This looks better if you're up on the couch, buddy. Come here. And there's another one. There's another one right here. Motivation is key in life. Good shot, buddy. It looks better when I have dogs in the shot. Okay, so let's talk about potty training first. Most people actually, and the guardian actually just gave me a great illustration of it, use a bunch of variants. Let's go outside, you want to go make a potty, and a whole bunch of things. Dogs learn through association, repetition, and good timing. You have 3 seconds to correct or reward an action or for the dog to understand what it is. So when you're saying potty, 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 when I'm not pottying, then the word potty means anything but potty. You want to go outside? Could mean I'm going to go for a walk, we're going to go for a leash, we're going to put you on the deal, we're going to go for a car ride. It can mean a multitude of things. Each command word should only mean one thing. Now, 2 things we want to never do, and these are the 2 most common mistakes people make with potty training, is to rub the dog's nose in it. It's been clinically proven to actually yeah, that's the first time he's done that so far. So it's been clinically proven to actually reinforce a negative response. And what happens is the dog hides behind the couch and won't tell you if it has to potty. The other thing we often do, the other mistake is we say, no, bad dog, no potty, no potty. Well, the dog's like, well, when I did potty, you got mad. They don't understand that we're saying don't potty in the house. They just think we say get mad when they potty. So they'll hide, and both of these things will cause the dog to hide and not tell you they have to potty because it seems to disturb you. So what we want to do is for potty training, we want to come up with a new command word. I say the word business, but you can say splat, plop, anything you want to use. Fun words, like I said, are beneficial. Putin. So basically, I go outside with the dog. Now, this is not the most comfortable time of the year to do this, but if you do this way for 7 to 10 days, you should have it licked. Every time they go outside, you have a high-value training treat with them. Don't let them see you have it. I'd have one for each dog. Put them out in the place to potty. If they potty within 5 minutes, then as they start to pee or poop, I would say business. As soon as they start the action, so I'm linking the action of elimination, same word for both, down, with the command word. And say it in a normal tone of voice. A lot of people go, business! See how they looked up? That'll stop them from evacuating. They'll come inside and have an accident. So just say business, normal tone of voice. When they get done, crouch down, and they'll come over to you, pop the treat in their mouth, and then say the word business a second time. Remember, treat always in the mouth first, not just for this, but for any exercise, any reward. Then we hear the command word after the treat's in my mouth. So now I hear the word business when I'm peeing or pooping. Then afterwards, I hear the word business when a treat is in my mouth. After a while, those 3 things become synonymous. Now, after a while, the dog's like, I will dare not waste this urine inside. I do it inside, there's no response. But if I do it outside, I get a reward. Now, to jumpstart this, you might want to do what we call a jackpot. What we might want to do is maybe the first maybe 3 days, every time he goes outside, give him 3 treats. Or tear the treat in half, maybe do 2 treats in half, so he gets 4 reinforcers. Business, 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 business. What did I just do? Because I just got the mother load of treats. I got to remember this and do this again. The 3 times dogs are likely to need to go. Right after waking up, 5 minutes after eating, and 15 minutes after start of playtime. So you start roughhousing and playing together, look at your clock. Okay, it's 4:20. At 4:35, I'm going to take them outside, whether they're still playing or not. And then I also like to take them out once an hour for potty training, more for puppies, but for him, it'll help because the more they're in the right place, the more likely they are to do what we want, and we get to reward them for the wrong thing. When they do the wrong thing, that's practicing it. We're not going to punish them or correct them, sit, but it's not going to help you with the potty training. Now, marking is different. Marking is intentionally peeing on things as a way of asserting my leadership, so that if somebody comes in the house, they smell that I peed on that leg, I peed on the cabinet over there, I peed on the shoe, and so that's kind of comes from dogs that think they're in a leadership position, which I think both of these dogs do. Probably a little bit more in Fitz's case than Dobi. Fitz has been here longer. So basically, actually, I forgot. I was going to go over how to teach them to ring a bell. So you want to keep on doing this just with the business. And again, if they don't go, or I didn't say this, if you take them out and they don't go within 5 minutes, bring them back inside. It's not urgent enough to go. Now, if that's the case, I'm going to hold the dog or keep it on a leash so it can't sneak off and have an accident. And when it starts to whimper, I would take it back outside again. A lot of times they get distracted. That's more for puppies, but for adults. But as soon as he's peed, then he gets in and have freedom when he comes inside. Now, if you want to teach them to ring a bell, most people hang the bell from the doorknob. So the bell ringing equals door opening, which is not what we're looking for. So you'll have to get jingle bells. Those are the only bells you can really get. So what you do is you go outside, and I would, again, teach the command word first. So you'd say to the point where you could say, business, and they goes, that means a yes. You say business, and he goes, that's it, I don't have to go. Or I don't know the command word yet. So until he gives you that excitement. So basically, once that's the case, then I take the bells with me. Don't hang them up by the door. Take them outside, but hold them tight so they don't make any sound. As soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, start gently ringing them. And ring them about like this. A lot of people I see go, drrr. Well, the dogs can't make that sound. We want to emulate the sound that they're going to make when they hit it with their nose. So we gently ring it the whole duration of peeing or pooping. When they get done, I stop ringing it. I crouch down. The dog comes over, and I pop the treat in their mouth. As soon as the treat goes in, I start jingling it the same motion. And I jingle for as long as the treat's in their mouth. Now you're together. Now I can get, my camera's there. I can get a picture of that. So the idea is now the jingle sound is associated with this. I do this for about a week. And after a week, then I would hang it somewhere in the room because they can't get to your door because of the baby gate. So I hang it somewhere in the room. And that way, if they go and hang it at nose level, so all I have to do is nudge it. And as soon as they nudge it, you have to get up and take them outside. Now, and after a while, the dog will just ring the bell when it wants to say it's got to go outside. And it's a nice little indicator for you. But always do the verbal first. Most people skip to the bell. But then if you're at a friend's house, you can't say anything. And it's just best to have that fundamentals. All right, so a couple things. Remember, rules are not mean. Enforcing rules is not, or rules are not negative. Enforcing rules is not mean. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're reinforcing, including unbalanced states of mind like excitement, stress, fear. And not correcting your dog is the same thing pretty much as saying, it has my seal of approval, or not saying no is really the way of saying yes. The only time I don't acknowledge the dog is the dog's barking at me for attention or whining or whimpering or jumping up. That's not getting my attention because any attention, remember, is validating. So what I'm going to do instead is petting with a purpose, passive training. We'll talk about that in a second. But the first thing we talked about was exercise. I went through some creative forms of exercise. Remember, you can do the treat toss on the stairs. Remember, with an empty stomach, the first time you do it with each dog separately, and keep throwing those treats with an empty stomach in the morning until the dog's like, and count each down up as 1. And keep doing that until the dog's like, you're crazy. I'm not going down there. I've been down there 28 times. That's my maximum number. Now you throw the treat, celebrate, 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 celebrate.
Sit.
We're going to get there. So I throw the treat to the bottom of the stairs. Remember, treat goes in the mouth first. So as soon as the dog licks it up, we come up with a fun word that means go down south. We let's call it Cancun. And then we show the dog we have a treat, and it runs up the top of the stairs, give it another treat, call it like Dakota or Canada, and then throw another treat. And keep on doing this with an empty stomach the first time until he's like, I'm done. Now we know what the maximum number is. And then you do the next dog, same situation. Now we want to exercise about 50 to 75% of maximum number. So play around with the repetitions and then see how their overall behavior is. So that's a great way to do that, to exercise them. Now, if we're having guests come over, exercising them first. I'm going to go through other forms of exercise too, but if they're naughty, how long has it been since they've been exercised? If it's longer than an hour, take them to the stairs or do some of the other things I'm about to mention. This little behavior right here, I'm playing, but this could also be an indication that I have too much energy. We've been listening to human talk for 3 hours. I'm done with this. I want to do something dog related. Playing tug of war is a great game for dogs that like doing that. It's a nice way to engage with them. It just touches you with the teeth, you drop the toy. As soon as you touch me in the teeth, it's over. That helps a great way to help reinforce a healthy leader-follower dynamic, as well as bite inhibition. So, okay, so that the Stairmaster is a great one. Dobi, they use a laser for him, and the laser, as long as he doesn't get anxious or whiny or whimper or drooly, that's great. That's a nice way to exercise him as well. The other thing we could do, and remember when you're on a walk, they burn more energy from sniffing than they do from the locomotion of walking. So instead of thinking I'm going to walk a certain circuit, just say I'm going to walk if I'm going to walk 10 minutes, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes down this way. And at 5 minutes, I cross the road and come back the other 5 minutes on the other side of the road for fresh sniffs. I only had 10 minutes for a walk. We don't care if I only go one house, because that's not our goal is to burn the energy. And the sniffing will do that. Don't even look. Dog was kind of jumping up and she looked at him. So that's going to be hard. So maybe come up with a word that means to not watch. Look away, or something that's funny, preferably. Okay, so we also can get a snuffle mat. I would get probably a snuffle mat. And remember, you'll have to, for the snuffle mat, you'll have to use some kibble and something dry for that, and that omega treat ball. Now, I know that they like the wet food, But teaching them to do that, and I would maybe, if they eat all the kibble out of the dry kibble of the chicken or whatever it is, and chicken, remember the temperature is more important than the taste. So we keep it warm, and then they have to get that Omega Paw treat balls, the orange thing that I ordered, showed you. You can get that on Amazon, or a snuffle mat. Snuffle mat, work their food into it. They've got to use it, their nose to find it. When they find it, they lick it up, and then we say whatever the command word is. If you want for snuffle mat, you don't really have to for that. But now they're getting an exercise by just feeding. So that's twice a day. It's like 2 extra walks. So again, exercise best every 2 to 4 hours. So if we get like maybe each one of them gets like 2 or 3 treat tosses on the stairs. We can also do scent games. Just Google scent games. There's a bunch of stuff for that. And they have great noses, so scent games would be a great thing for them, actually. Get some treat dispensing toys, some puzzles that they have to use to figure out. That's also very draining for their energy. So we feed them out of the snuffle mat. We take them for a walk and let them sniff. We do a scent game or 2. We do the treat toss on the stairs and a laser. Man, you're going to notice a big difference. And again, naughty, or you're going to have somebody coming up, or there's a time where there's going to be a lot of trucks on the road. That's a good time to get them a lot of exercise. Being ahead of the curve can really help set them up for success. Okay, so, or nudging you, asking for a lot of attention. Again, treat toss. Okay, so we also talked about rules. The dogs really don't have any rules. And for dogs, remember, leaders tell, followers ask. And leaders in the dog world are the one who enforce rules. And so if you're not enforcing rules, they're not going to see you. And I can promise, well, actually, 2 things. Marking, the book of behavior says 2 things. No furniture has to earn its pets. We're going to talk about earning the pets. So marking is intentional. Until the dog sees you acting like a leader, it's not going to matter. Now, the Guardian's doing a great job of ignoring Dobi right now because he wants stuff on the furniture. And that's one of the first rules I usually suggest. No furniture for at least 90 days because it takes 66 days to form a behavior pattern. And every time I break that rule, I don't go back to 0, but I go back pretty far. So again, if he's really feisty like this, then this might be we take him out for a walk. Or get the treat toss on the stairs. So I would order the X mats for here. So you're going to need probably 4 of them, 2 for here and 2 for those chairs. It's going to cost you about $48, but then you won't have to work on enforcing it. And so you come and sit down here. You fold it and put it down here. You get up, you unfold it and put it here, and you go to get yourself a drink of water or go to the bathroom. Dog runs up, oh, I can't get up there. And after a while, they get out of a habit of doing it. You can get rid of these, and the dogs have learned not to do this. Now, at the same time we do that, we teach them to go to the dog bed. The way to do that, remember, take 10 treats. That's okay. This is just really for you. Throw the treat on the dog bed. When he licks it up, come with a funny word for each dog bed. Each dog bed should have its own name. Fun word. So for 10 treats, throw it, wait for the dog to vacate, throw another one, vacate. And if you have carpet here, you get a lot more vacation. I don't mean that as a holiday. And go to Carpet Land, 110th. And like I said, you can get great carpet and get a light color, light cream, white, or light gray. So throw 10 treats in a row, and every time it steps at least 1 paw on it and licks up the treat, I say the command word. The second way I do it is I wait for them to not be looking. I leave a treat there, and then when they see it, don't point it out. Then they lick it up. I say the command word. Third way, I bring it over, put him into a sit, and then say the command word. Sit or in a lay down. Yes, you got more treats than he did, so that's why I'm doing this now in a super fair way. Now this is the pose that I want too. All right, so and then after that, when they go to the dog bed, you would just say the word if you don't have a treat. But if you have a treat, that's ideal. You throw a treat. So now when I go to the dog bed, it rains treats. And I'm not up here, so I'm not jostling for my competing with my roommate. I'm not climbing on top of the humans, which is an indication of a lack of respect. It's not disrespectful; it just means I don't really respect you. I kind of look at you as a ride. But I can also claim you by standing. Well, now I can't claim you, and that can create some jealousy, and that can create some insecurities as well. So that's the first rule I usually suggest: is no furniture for at least 90 days, or as long as the problems are still going on. The bed, the guardians like to watch TV and cuddle in bed. They can do that. I would just have the guardians get up first, then they invite the dog. And let's say that Dobi's being a pill and he's being feisty like he is now. Then I invite Fitz up. I'm going to reward what I want. But if I whimper and then I get invited up, well, the whimpering worked. I promise you. I know this is annoying, but the more you respond to this, the more he's going to do this. Next rule, because he's over at the area, is to tell him to sit before you open the baby gate. So go to the baby gate, command him, don't ask, tell him to sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away and sit down. Pull out your phone, read, watch TV, listen, do something else for 1 minute and set a 1 minute timer with your digital assistant. After 1 minute, go back there and command him to sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds of the first time you say it this time, then you walk away and sit down for 2 minutes, then we sit down for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep double length of time. But as soon as he sits, boom, that gate opens up. Now, if one of them sits and the other doesn't, then I hope that the dog who sits gets paid and the other one doesn't. That's actually a great motivation for the other dog. He sat and he went out. Why didn't I sit? Darn it. Well, next time I'm more likely to sit. Eventually, you can do it in both directions. So I'd have the gate when you go out the door, and when you come in, they've got to sit to come in. If they don't, then you open the door, you slide in, and then they're like looking through the window, like, oh, they're having a great time. Why didn't I sit? And I have to wait twice as long. And the humans are only saying it once. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. Okay, other rules, shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen when we're eating food. Use the exercise that I showed you. Also shouldn't be allowed in the around the dining room table. Usually about 7 feet. It's a little bit cozy in here, so you could probably get away with about 5 feet. And I would get some painter's tape or masking tape, put it on the floor for a week or two just to help you enforce it. And same thing you can do from the kitchen table that we did in the dining room is you can drop treats on the table. Careful there, that's more their territory. It's harder for us to get under there. I might like microwave some roast beef, put it on the table. And remember, first give them the out command. So roll a treat outside the boundary. When they run out and get it, lick it up, say the word. And I would practice that with each dog separately. Do it for any area that you want to teach them to vacate. So you can say out, and the dog runs out of the room. Then you would reward them with a treat afterwards. Okay, and don't even look. I know it's hard. Good attention, bad attention from us is pretty much the same thing. So, all right, so those are some examples of rules. The last one, I guess I forgot, is to make sure that you're eating something first. The dog should stay out of the kitchen. You get a crunchy cheese ball or whatever it is, something you can eat in 5 more bites. A real meal would be great, but you don't have to rearrange your schedule. Just something you eat in 5 bites. Then I invite Fitz in, like that's a cute picture right there. Fitz, because he's the older dog, and he gets to come in, and when he's eating, Dobi's not allowed to be in the kitchen, at least 5 feet away. So it might even be beyond that line. And then when Fitz gets done eating, Fitz vacates the area, and then Dobi gets to come in, and Dobi eats out of his own dish. And so that way the dogs practice not being near each other, because that's a challenge for whatever it is, and also helps the humans celebrate.
Sit.
Perfect. It helps the humans practice acting like leaders by enforcing these rules. And look for other rules. Maybe because you put them on a leash before you open the front door, tell them to sit. If they don't sit within 3 seconds, then just close the door, and that carpet here will make it easier for you. So if one of the dogs just jumped up and lap, and it's hardwood floor, we feel bad by putting them down. What we'd like to do is we're sitting in there here, because this won't stop the X-Mats. The X-Mats are going to stop most of the time. But right now, I just tried to get up here, it didn't work, I'm going to go to my other guardian. So what you want to do is just wait, and as soon as the dog kind of is in midair, you flash your hand to block, and we want to have carpet so when they land, it's not going to be hurt that full for them. So I would get the carpet for a couple months just to make it easy for that. And also, if you want to go down and cuddle for them, and you notice that they want sitting where you have the floor mat, so $10 will take care of that for you. When you do that, also avoid the ones with patterns of little spots, because sometimes they can get confused if it's a treat or not. Those are rules. Remember, the more you enforce a rule, the more the dog sees you acting like a leader, and that will have a correlation with them not marking. Now, feeding people food is just training them to break a rule. And I know we mean to do that in a good way, but it usually just creates confusion and jealousy. Now, there are 2 foods that I do recommend, human foods, to feed dogs. Carrots and broccoli ward off 2 types of cancer in dogs, and 1 out of every 2 dogs dies of cancer. So I give my dogs, for these guys, I'd give them you take a carrot and cut it in half and give each one of them a carrot to chew on. That helps maybe once a week at least. That wards off a type of cancer. And then I take a broccoli floret and I demolish it on top of their food. I feed them out of the bowl for that. And once a month. So it's just a nice little prophylactic way to do it. And I would avoid giving them people food. Now, I eat steak, and occasionally I want to give my dog the steak fat. What I'll do is I'll cut it into little tiny pieces when I get done with my meal. Then I put it in the microwave on a plate, and I leave it there until the next meal. Then I portion it in their food bowl, so it doesn't smell like the food that I am eating. It's not in concert with what I'm eating, and that way I can still share it with them if I want to. But our foods that are really fat and rich, they're not really that great for dogs. A lot of times it gives them gas. So I'd recommend staying away from that for at least 3 months as well to help establish a healthy leader-follower dynamic. We also talked about petting with a purpose and passive training. You heard me say celebrate a couple times. That means we're celebrating the things the dog does that we want. Remember, most of the time, good attention and bad attention is the same thing. So the dog comes up to me, I ignore it. It sits in front of me, I ignore it. It drops the ball, I ignore it. It lays down, I ignore it. But as soon as it starts jumping up, I say no. Or it barks, I say no. Or it pees on something, I say no. Well, I want to get your attention. I don't care if it's good attention or bad attention. I'm going to do the things you don't want. That's a great celebration right there. So when the dog organically offers you the behavior that you want, every time it brings you a toy, I would name all your toys. Call that one Bizarro Santa or whatever it is. So come up with preferably 1-word names, but come up with a name for each toy. And every time they bring it to you, say the name of that toy. Every time they come to you, pet them and say come. Every time they sit, pet them and say sit. Down, I call it flop on the side and pancake on their back. Come up with a unique command word to eat. So each dog, when they eat for 3 to 4 months, they hear, lasagna or meatball or whatever the word is that you want to use. So every time that Dobi hears, it takes his first bite of food, hears meatball. When Fitz hears meatball, there's no food in his mouth. It doesn't mean the same thing. Eventually, you can be outside the kitchen. You can be here, put food in both bowls, and they're waiting outside the kitchen, and you just say meatball, and he goes in there and eats, and Fitz is waiting. I'd probably feed him in the other order, but that's and the Guardians, now she's starting to get, she's celebrating. So remember, that's a watchword we use. So if you see some dog do something near somebody and they missed it, an opportunity to pet it, say celebrate, that person just doesn't ask, it turns, it just says sit or come or down. So all the things you want your dog to do, we're going to say just that command word. And try not to say good boy. When the dog sits, I really say it twice. Sit, and if the dog sits, then I would say sit a second time. And that second time is actually the most important time. But everybody says sit, good boy. Lay down, good boy. Come, good boy. Why good boy for everything, so it doesn't mean anything? And when it comes to dogs, a single affirmation is no more beneficial than like a double or triple. You can do it. You want some motivation to come up here? It's right there for you, buddy. But I'm going to make him do it. He can do it. You're going to see him do it here in a sec. He's just used to kind of getting his humans to do what he wants. They're here to do my bidding. There we go. Up. And I'll close this because you can't have free reign. Okay, so the other thing we talked about was petting with a purpose. So a lot of times the dogs nudges with their nose or kind of like that, a little bit more enthusiasm. Down. Or lay, excuse me. Or they paw, or they jump up on you when they want attention. They're telling you what to do. Remember, leaders tell and followers ask. So next time they nudge you, paw you, or do whatever it is, and if they're not on the furniture, they won't be able to do the possessiveness. So next time they bark or whatever it is, give them a counter order. Tell them to sit. If they sit within 3 seconds, pat under the chin and say just the word sit, and not sit, just sit. Or you can say the first way too, just everybody has to say it the same way. Doesn't have to, but it makes it faster. And then I pet as much or as little as I want. If they don't sit within 3 seconds, remember, playing hard to get works great for dating. It also works great for dogs. So if I tell you to sit and you don't sit, I got 28 other things to do, buddy. You missed out. And after a while, that pet from you becomes more valuable. And what will happen is the dogs will realize, I can't tell the humans what to do anymore. I have to ask. And better than ask, I have to pay for the privileged attention. That's great. Look at that little motivation. I saw something that could get me attention. One of the dogs, Fitz, ran up to the Guardian. He got petted for a come, for a celebrate. Caused him to get down off the status position and go over to get that same attention. It's fast how quickly it works. So basically what we're telling the dogs is if you tell a human what to do, nothing happens. But if the human tells you what to do and you do it, you get paid. So I can't, as a dog, I don't think I can tell the humans anymore what to do. I have to ask, and better than ask, I have to pay for the privilege of their attention. The dogs will start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for that attention. When they do, boy, you better start petting them under the chin within that 3-second window. And pet them as much or as little as you want, but at least one pet. Now, if they do it 3 or 4 times in a row, again, stairs or something to do for exercise. All right, so petting with a purpose. I use the watchword of paycheck for that. So if somebody comes in and I sees that I'm petting him, and Dobi is you can't see him in the shot right now, but he's standing, and somebody says, paycheck to me, I stop petting, say, sit. There would normally be carpet here, and then he could sit, and I would reach down and pet him and say sit. But if I say sit and he doesn't, I detach and I lean back, and he isn't getting more attention. Even if I was doing it right, the person comes in and says paycheck, and I did it right, oh, sit. That's passive training. So let's say I said sit and he sat down. Or let's say somebody comes in and sees me petting him, he's standing up. They say paycheck to me, I stop petting him, tell him to sit. If he does, sit. Actually, I asked him to sit when you flush the toilet. He stood up and I continued petting him, but thank you, because I do forget to pet without a purpose. It's a gentle reminder. So these are watchwords for each other. So I say celebrate if somebody's missing an opportunity to pet the dog for a desired behavior. Paycheck means you're missing, you're not paying, I suspect you're petting the dog without a reason. And that's what petting with a purpose is, petting for a reason. I also say vocabulary if you're using too many words. I say repeat or rerun if you're repeating a command word multiple times. Actually, I say Scrabble if you're using too many words. I say vocabulary means you're using the wrong version of the word. Come up with a list of the official command words. Come, sit, down, whatever, lay, whatever they are. And that way you can say vocabulary if you're using, you said lay or down, but it's actually lay. It's easier for us to use one word than it is for them to remember a whole variety of words. Remember, if you pet with a purpose and passively train your dogs, every time you pet your dog, it becomes a micro dog training session. It increases the dog's respect for you as an authority figure, boosts the dog's confidence, and helps them practice desired behaviors, which motivates them to do those more in the future. I'd also like you to get in a habit of teaching the dogs new tricks or commands. Go to YouTube. All these, and make sure it's a positive reinforcement. The Guardians here worked with a trainer that's in Council Bluffs that doesn't use, she has kind of a karma sounding name, but doesn't use positive reinforcement. And so the Guardians recognized that it wasn't, their dogs weren't responding and weren't comfortable with it. And the great thing about this is we see how quickly the dogs are responding. The barking at the truck that came by that Fitz did was the first time he's done it the rest of the session. The more the dogs see the Guardians acting like leaders, the less they have to do it themselves. And right now they think that humans aren't listening, which stresses them out. That stress creates anxiety, and that creates all these other problems. The more they see the humans enforcing these rules and petting with a purpose and passively training us, I asked them earlier what they could do to make the dogs happy, and the Guardians had struggled to come up with it. Now the dogs will know. We also went over the escalating consequences. I don't go over those in the video because that is correcting, and I would prefer to have somebody know all the ins and outs. But if you forget any of those things, let me know. Now, what I'd like you to do is we're kind of out in the country, so you probably don't have a ton of visitors, but I could be wrong. What we want to do is practice that. So the video above is what I did to meet, and Fitz, who normally is a little, not nippy, but persnickety maybe is a good way to put it, when people come over. Well, we were buddies within like a minute or two. So when there's no snow on the ground, I would have a neighbor or friends come over, keep the visits pretty short, exercise the dogs first, make sure they have 10 minutes to recover, and then basically have, when the guests get here, take the dogs downstairs, and then have somebody else go give the treats to the human that's visiting. And the human should watch the video above. It doesn't explain it, but you want to put a treat on the edge of the first step, and then a second, third, and then on the. After a while, the dogs will just come down and immediately recognize, or Fitz will, this means I'm going to meet or I'm going to go get all these great treats, and then Fitz will find them. So I do one about every 3 feet apart once we get off the steps, and then basically I'd like to have the person sitting down, and maybe if you get a little footstool or something out there for them to sit on. And when they come around, and I sat kind of behind the car, as you saw in the video above. So the dog comes out the house, he can't see the person, comes to the car, in between the car, doesn't see it. At the very end, that's when he sees the person. Now we get close to the person, that's where I kind of keep the treats closer apart, maybe about every 12 to 18 inches. And then the person should have a handful of treats. And Fitz came up and took a treat out of my hand right away, even while there's treats still on the ground. So I have a couple that are right by my foot. So by the time he gets to them, these are like $100 bills to dogs. By the time he met me, he had like 12 treats. He's like, oh my God, best day ever. And here's a new guy. I'm in a really good mood when I meet this guy. And then what do we do afterwards? We went on a little mini walk. So if you can arrange it, if you have a real guest that comes to your door, you feel bad about making him wait out in the snow. If you have your friends coming over, they're in on it with you, now you set the dog up for success. What we do, as opposed to these force trainers, is we create a situation where the dog has a pleasant experience, but the dog has the ability to do whatever it wants. If it does anything else other than what I want, nothing happens. If it does what we want, it gets a reward. After a while, the dog does what we want because it gets the reward for doing it. That's still a cute picture. And now the dog is getting a positive experience, and it's practicing meeting people. Outside also provides a lot of distractions, and because there's a lot of sights and sounds and smells, and there's an infinite number of escape routes. In the house, there's only one escape route. And now I'm on duty because you're in my house. And if you move, I have to nip at you or bark at you to correct you. So if you can have these, and keep these visits, if you can, short, about 20, 30 minutes once they get them in the house. But eventually it'd be nice if you came out there and they went out and they met the person, and then you handed them a leash, and they walked the person to the corner and came around and came back, and they're letting them sniff as much as they want, and they have more treats. They ask them to sit, give them a couple treats on the way back, come back inside. Boy, Fitz is going to be like, I love it when people come and visit, because after Black Shirt Man came, it's just nothing but happy times when people come. And I'm not stressed out about the trucks or these people moving or all the rest of the stuff, because I no longer have to worry about being the guard dog, because my guardians are acting like leaders through their actions. Would you like to get a treat? One here, one here. Here, buddy. It's right there. This is Fitz. That's Dobi's head bouncing up. And here, you need a second one? Now there's two. See how fast he gets up there for that one. Now the carpet will help with this. Well, that's Dobi, this is Fitz, and I'm David, and this is the roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.